Willoughbyland was a very short-lived English colony in South America, in a place that they called at the time Guiana, or the Wild Coast. Now, at the beginning of the 17th century, the Spanish were well established on the Orinoco River, and to the west were now Venezuela and Colombia. And the Portuguese were on the Amazon and to the south in what is now Brazil. And in between was this 120-mile stretch, virtually unknown and unexplored, a blank place on the map. And because so little was known about it, it became the repository of all sorts of wishful thinking and myths. For some, it was the closest place on earth to Eden. Probably the most famous myth that found its home in the hinterlands of the Wild Coast was the myth of El Dorado, the city of gold. And more than anyone, it was Sir Walter Ralegh who brought this to the attention of the European public. He went there in 1595 and had a fairly disastrous attempt to find the city, but came back and wrote a book, and thereafter El Dorado fever descended on this little bit of coast, and soon there were Dutch, French, English explorers, and eventually, some 50 years later, it became home to a colony established by fugitive cavaliers from Barbados, and that was how Willoughbyland was established. They made peace with the fierce indigenous people there, and they offered incomers amazing freedom for the time. There was total freedom for trade, there was freedom of religion, which attracted people, Jewish people in particular, from all over the world. And astonishingly, they were left alone by Cromwell and during the interregnum. And it was effectively an independent colony. They were free, and they even set up a form of democracy there. They elected their governor. And then came the Restoration, and then everything started to unravel. I very much hope that the book will appeal to anyone who's interested in sort of history in general, but empire in particular, and slavery, and that extraordinary moment when the Europeans flooded out to the Americas and discovered this incredibly different world. But also, I think probably I kept thinking of novels when I was researching this story. In particular, Lord of the Flies as well, which are sort of lost if you want a sort of TV version. But also The Lost World. You know, there's this amazing sort of high plateau in Willoughbyland where no one can get there and no one knows what's up there. And also, I suppose, sort of Conrad, you know, Nostromo, or even Heart of Darkness. That book kept coming to my mind when I accompanied the settlers up these rivers into the jungle.